iOS 6 versus iOS 26. Here are the differences between the camera apps. First thing, the camera icon in iOS 26 is definitely a good callback to the one in iOS 6. Launching the camera is pretty similar, except this has a little animation, and here's the different UIs. In iOS 6, you basically only had two options, just photo and video mode, by just tapping this little button here. Where here in iOS 26, it's kind of mirrored because you have a little photo and a little video options. You can obviously swipe to get to your other options, but by default, it's just photo and video. In iOS 6, though, you can take panoramas, but it's under this little options thing, where in iOS 26, it's under this little separate page. Flipping the camera in iOS 6 was in the top right, where here in iOS 26, it's in the bottom right. You still have tap to focus, except here in iOS 6, it flashes, where here in iOS 26 is just this little yellow thing. The options page in iOS 6 just has grid, HDR, and those panoramas, where here in iOS 26, the options are a lot more, obviously. And when you go into video mode on both of these, there's literally no options in iOS 6. You just tap video and you're recording. Where here in iOS 26, you have your options right here and the ability to change your resolution and frame rate. Now to zoom on iOS 6, you have to use two hands, one to hold the device and one to literally pinch to zoom here. Once you've done that, you can use one hand with this little scrubber here, but it goes way after a little bit. So definitely not very convenient. We're here in iOS 26. Things have come a very long way because we have just separate options to switch between the different lenses, or you can just slide on it with one hand. Or in the case of this device, you have the camera control as well to change your options. And of course, the cameras themselves have come a very long way. We went from 5 megapixels on here to 48 megapixels on here. And if you have an iPhone from this era of time, it was 8 megapixels. And of course, who can forget the iconic slide to unlock? Where here, you swipe up to unlock. So there you go. That's the camera app in iOS 6 versus iOS 26. Which one do you prefer?